Welcome back to the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. Today we have a very special guest, huge Pats fan. You might know him in a fantasy league as Lamb and Rice. Oh, how nice. We have our friend Dallin. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing amazing. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we were having a very, very lively discussion in our chat last night about a few things, and I felt like I dropped a little nuclear missile down there, just having some fun, picking on Lance a little bit. That made it even more exciting. But let's start with how you're feeling, Dallin, about your New England Patriots. They're 8-2, two-game lead in that division. How are you feeling so far?
Yeah, I'm ecstatic. The two-game lead and then the tiebreaker with the Bills, although they have to play them again. Um, but we got them in their house in prime time, so I don't know. They're going to be a tough game, but I think it's like really the only tough game left on the schedule, and that's like the big Pats advantage this year. It's also the big knock on the Pats, and I get that. But 8-2. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the season we'd be 8-2 and have beaten the Bills and Tampa away, I would be stoked. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, that Tampa game, that was big. That to me was the biggest test because against the Bills, you guys did pull it off, but the Bills kind of did themselves dirty that game with a bunch of penalties and fumbles. So I felt
Mhm.
more like the Bills weren't as good as maybe advertised. But then when you guys beat the Bucks, I was like, okay, now I'm on board. I'm on board after that win.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and then of course the Bills drop a stinker today to the Dolphins.
Hmm.
And so it's just one of those things where they kind of taken themselves out of the race a little bit. Not that they can't get back in, but after last week's game, them looking so dominant and beating the Chiefs, I was like getting a little worried that they were too
Hmm.
hot on the heels. But today was a little bit of a reliever. Because if you at the beginning of the day, what I expected, like if I had to bet, I would have bet that the Pats would drop the game to the Bucks and the Bills would kill the Dolphins. And so the fact that the race is this far apart after today is a little bit relieving.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Bills have put up stinkers against the Falcons and the Dolphins, and yet they really play super well against the Chiefs. It's a crazy year this year.
Yeah, I think my biggest observation with the Bills is that they don't have receivers that get open.
Hmm.
It seems like every time I watch them, Allen has to be like Superman, and his
Hmm.
job just looks so difficult. And I don't know, today that was really obvious to me.
It's saying something when the Patriots receivers are better than the Bills receivers.
Yeah, which is crazy,
Well,
man.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, Stephon Diggs is better than any receiver on the Bills right now. Just him alone.
Hmm.
No doubt.
So are you feeling down like this is going to be this is the Patriots year to reclaim the AFC East?
Yeah, I am. I'm feeling pretty confident about the AFC. I don't know about the AFC because there are some strong teams in the AFC and teams that are not necessarily always at their best in the regular season. And maybe that's what the Bills are now, right? Like as the weather gets colder, they get better. I am a little bit worried about that with the Pats because of the way that they're winning is through the air. Although Henderson looked pretty good today. And fa Henderson fantasy owners, as you know, Andrew, have been waiting for this all season.
Hmm.
And non-Henderson owners have been trying to trade for him all season and not gotten anything done. And now here it is, the arrival. So,
Yep, it was just a matter of time, and it had to happen because of injuries, which I think is unfortunate because you see the talent. I saw the talent whenever there was joint practices between the Vikings and Patriots. I was thinking, this dude's for real. And so I hunted for him in fantasy drafts, and the Patriots just refused to use him. I was very disappointed.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. It was one of those things where everybody was questioning Vrabel and his decision making there, but out of necessity, they needed him today, and he came through in a big way twice, actually.
Only on 14 carries.
Yeah, 14 carries, super efficient. Looked great out of the backfield. I think he only caught one or two balls, I think, but he's dangerous in the passing game. I don't think anyone doubts that. So
And
yeah,
I
he's
think
a big weapon.
And I think Mike Vrabel right now, things can change right now as a lock for Coach of the Year. That's got to go his way.
Yeah, I think the odds are it's between him and Steichen, and I think he leads a little bit
Yeah,
in those
that's
odds.
what I
And
was gonna
so
say.
yeah, I think those two would be the ones that deserve it the most.
hmm I think though, to me at least, I thought the Colts would be decent, like a playoff contender. I wasn't sure about the Patriots. I knew that Drake May was going to be better his second year, but I was thinking, let's see what they got. And I don't think anyone expected this. So I think that goes to Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts haven't been great, of course, but they've been at least pedestrian. And the Patriots, this Pats team won, I think they won. Did they win two games last year? Forgetting. They've lost 13 or more games in the last 2 years. And so, for them to be in the position they're in the AFC East, I think is just a
hmm
huge testament to Vrabel and also to McDaniels. McDaniels has been excellent as the OC. And so, as much flack as he took in Las Vegas, and rightfully so,
hmm
he seems to be fully back too.
Yeah, there's
Well,
some people that are good coordinators, but not good coaches. And I think
yeah,
he's
I
one
Yeah.
of
mean,
them.
that's what I was gonna say is I don't know how long it's gonna take McDaniels to finally realize that maybe he'd just be an OC his entire life.
Yeah, no doubt. We held on to him for way longer than we should have in New England, and then because he was getting offers long before the Vegas thing, and then he went and did that, and it didn't work out. So
Do you think he's gonna get another chance, or do you think that McDaniels is like, you know what, after two tries, I'm done?
yeah, I think he's done. I think after those two whiffs, I don't know if teams will be taking. I think teams are always looking for like the young, sexy pick, right? They're looking for the next McVay or the Kevin O'Connell, which, we can litigate that this year has been a little rough, um, but I still think he's a great coach. And I think people are just on the lookout for that.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend. They want the offensive young guy that can develop a quarterback as opposed to the savvy veteran head coach. But I think the Patriots made the right decision here. Mike Vrabel, you wouldn't say he's a quarterback guru, he's a defensive guru, but he has led this team really well.
Well, I think what I would say about um Vrabel is he reminds me of Campbell. Like I think that he's a player's coach. He's a player's
Mm.
guru.
Mm,
He's not just a defensive guru, he's a player's guru. I mean, the Titans self-imploded. When they traded AJ Brown, that was the beginning of the end. And
hmm
then Derrick Henry goes and yeah, it's just a whole roller coaster. I mean, the coaches can't make up for bad management decisions. Cincinnati Bengals are a prime example of that. Cowboys, another example. Just can't make up for when the owners put you over a barrel. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah, and to go back to Mike Vrabel, and his defensive prowess. It's a little known stat that I read today, but the Patriots have yet to allow a 50-yard rusher against them. 50. And they just played Bijan Robinson. They've played some big name guys, and they
Yeah,
haven't allowed
Quinshon
50 yards
Junkins,
rushing.
James
hmm
Cook. Yeah, they've played
hmm
some good, really good backs. Devon Achane. Not yet. Not yet. Yeah, not yet. And he was awesome today. So if there was
hmm
anyone that was going to get 50, I think it
Yeah, he
might be
could be the
him.
one.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I loved Vrabel's post game stuff too. Like it was just the stuff you like to see. I don't know if you guys saw him greeting all the players coming back into the tunnel, but he was calling them the NFC South champs because they swept the NFC South as of today. And so crazy. Just that's a pretty, with the Buccaneers and of course we had probably higher expectations record-wise for Atlanta, but they show flashes. Like when they're at their best, they look really good, and when they're at their worst, they look really bad. So, but they're a team that can beat anybody, I feel like, if they're on. And so
Yeah, they
the fact
almost won
that,
today.
yeah, they dang near did. In fact, today's game reminded me of their game against the Pats, right? It was a very slim margin of victory for
hmm
the Colts. Um, And Atlanta at times looked dangerous in that game, but then I just don't know about Penix, man. He just does not look
I
like
agree.
probably the quarterback of their future long term.
Okay, I think we should get into it. I think we should get into that heated MVP debate that we had in the chat. Who wants to start?
Lance, I think you should start.
So we can do the 1-on-2 early. Um, I mean, uh, well, we have to talk about it at least a little bit to get into it. But Matthew Stafford had another incredible day yesterday.
He
Um,
did.
full disclaimer: I was hot off the Matt Stafford does not belong in the MVP race this year. But after how well he's played, I have him firmly in the number one spot for me. I think Baker Mayfield has slipped the past couple of weeks, but like guys, Matt Stafford has thrown for 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks. When are we
Yep.
going to give him credit? When are you going to like to be able to say, you know what, he's actually having 25 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 114.8 passer rating, 2,500
Mhm.
yards almost. That's amazing. Um, this is the part we disagreed on, and I'm happy to admit it or to get into it. But um, at this point, I've told Andrew this, that Andrew disagrees with me, but for the record, Andrew's an NFC North guy, so he's gonna be a little hated towards Matt Stafford because he's a Lions guy. I hear the bias, but Matt Stafford to me was looking like he was making the Rams lose the trade a little bit. To me, I know you're talking about the Super Bowl; they won the Super Bowl, but winning a Super Bowl takes luck. Having sustained success takes a lot more than luck. The Jahmyr Gibbs draft pick, Sam Laporta, Jared Goff. To me, I would say overall the trade has gone towards the Lions. Have they won the Super Bowl yet? No. But the Lions are, to me, here to stay. So when I factor that in for the MVP race, Matt Stafford's done a lot to resurrect his profile and also has done a lot to help mitigate any argument that the Lions won the trade. This has been his best year since he's been in Los Angeles. Like you look at it, it's not even close. The past 4 years, he never got above a 95 pass rating. He has a 114.8 pass rating right now. Like that's insane. Um,
Mhm.
so that's why I was saying that for what I did. But right now, Matt Stafford's number one for me. He's playing lights out, incredible football. Mayfield slipped back. Um, to me, Mahomes is like right outside the MVP conversation. Jackson, I think, is kind of starting to push his way back up. And then right there, and then you got a little bit of in between. Who else do you want to put in there? Jonathan Taylor. I think you could make a good case for it. I think that the Colts have not looked good enough to be able to put themselves in that conversation. The Colts are hurting themselves. Like having a bad day against the Falcons when you've like supposedly are playing legit football, it's tough. It's tough. So I also don't know if the Colts have a major win right now. Do they have a major win that makes them look legitimate, or have they just beat their schedule, which is not bad, but it's hard to put yourself in MVP conversation when you don't have a lights out game, primetime lights. And like overseas, I consider that a primetime game. Did the Colts really have a primetime moment? They won. I'm lower on the Falcons than you are, Dallin. But I think they deserve props for their wins they have, like beating the Bills. But also the Bills are really streaky this year. I think that that's kind of what we're seeing. We're seeing streakiness. I think the Patriots have been super consistent. Like they're going to be what they are every game. They're going to play consistent football. They're not going to make a lot of dumb decisions. You're going to have to play more execute or better executed football than they will. So May's got to be in the conversation too. I just think right now when I look at it and I'm looking at everything that's happening, uh, I don't know if Matt Stafford in the past 4 weeks has made any mistakes. And how many MVP candidates can say have they made like no mistakes? That's got to be a big factor too. So that's where I've fallen on the MVP
Yeah.
race.
Yeah. No, I can't say I disagree with you on Stafford. And I think when we were talking last night, the odds shifted to have Stafford and May tied for the lead. Um, and I think right now, if you were to give away the award right now, it's probably Stafford's award to lose, especially because of all the things you said. Plus, I just feel like although the Rams defense has been good, you can't say things about the Rams defense that, like Andrew just said about the Pats defense, right? Holding rushers to 50 or less yards, just ridiculous like next level stuff. And so May had a lot of support around him for sure. I would just say like the one thing that's making me pause on the whole May thing, like I think May still has a really good shot to win the award. Of course, he's sharing the odds-on favorite title right now. But I think the big thing, and we talked about this in the group chat last week, is just that it's totally a narrative award. And I feel that Stafford has kind of already had his moment in the sun as well as he's playing right now. And people want to root for the new guy. And so the May thing and like the social media thing with May, I don't know if it's just my algorithm because I'm a Pats fan, but it seems like there's this big thing right now with Drake May on social media. Everything is about Drake May. And so I think from a narrative perspective, it's his award to lose with his play. I think if he plays consistently the rest of the season like he's done, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it, especially if the Pats end up. I mean, their season schedule for the rest of the season is a cakewalk. Like it really is. And I shouldn't say that because we're going to drop some game that we shouldn't drop. It always happens. Like it's the NFL. It's hard to win against anybody. But yeah, there's really no reason this team shouldn't have, 13 wins at the end of the year. And and if that's the case, I don't see much case against May unless he just plays awfully down the stretch.
I
How
mean, I think
much
we
do you wish you had that Raiders game back?
So much. So much. Like that might be one of the worst losses of the season in
well,
the NFL. It
same thing
was
for
until the
Steelers too, though,
Jags
right?
today.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean it was the first game of the year, and sometimes that happens in game
Yeah.
one for any team. But yeah, I think the perspective of the Pats. What has shifted more this year, the perspective of the Pats or the perspective of the Raiders after that first game?
That's a good
Be-
question.
Because I think after that game one, because people were pretty high on the Pats coming into the year, they were everybody's dark horse team, which means they
Hmm.
weren't a dark horse team, and and then the Raiders beat them, and I think people were getting kind of like too high on the Raiders, like oh, Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, maybe they've got this thing going on, and Janty hasn't even been good like most of the year. And so, yeah, they've got him and they've got Bowers. And then, of course, Bowers gets hurt. And their season seems to have kind of derailed from that point. And the Pats bounced back and looked great after dropping that game. And so, yeah, it was just a weird game. And I really would like to have it back because to be going coming out of week 10 with one loss would have been so crazy. But, we'll take two. I think 8-2 is pretty good.
Hmm. I think you
So,
wanted to say something, Lance?
oh, I just was gonna say, what about you put the Steelers game in there too, right? Because I feel like the Steelers game, it's like a similar. The score's only off by 1 point difference each way.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and the Steelers, speaking of streaky teams, they've looked kind of streaky this year. They've had some moments where they look like a pretty solid football team. Um, and then there was that game last night, and it was probably what I turned it off like halfway through. It was one of the uglier games we've seen in prime time. And the Steelers offense just couldn't do anything. They can't move the ball. Um, Jalen Warren looks good at times, but they haven't figured out like a consistent ground game, and I think that has really hurt them. And then what I would say about Rodgers is like he just looks so immobile to the point of he's scared of getting hit, and he'll throw the ball away so fast rather than take a little bit more risk for a little bit more reward. And I think that the Rodgers of old, of course, you know, age is a thing, but I think that it's kind of like a mental confidence thing too where he's not hanging in the pocket and making the throws. And I actually remember Brady being this way at the very end of his career. And that was kind of when a lot of us were thinking it was probably over for him. So Rodgers didn't look bad for the first couple months of the season, but last night just made me think I don't know. I think he might be done.
Didn't you feel that way though after the Packers Steelers game? Because I definitely felt that way.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. But like again, it's the NFL. Any team can look good or bad on any given night, and so after that one, I was kind of thinking, maybe there's grounds here for the Steelers having their first losing season. It seems like in forever. Um, but but yeah, last night I think was kind of the nail in the coffin for me. Like I just have no belief in that Steelers team.
Same. I've been that way for most of the year. In fact, I think it was what, 2, 3 weeks ago, I called it and said Ravens are winning this division, even though they were like 2-5 still.
Yeah.
And I think I'm looking pretty right as of right now. For my MVP race, so it kind of changed for me after our conversation after the night games. So I I could be way off in this, but I'm still giving it to Baker in my opinion because of
Wow, really?
everything they've dealt with, the amount of injuries they've had, and him carrying this team on his back. He, like numbers wise, outplayed May last night, but he just couldn't get it done because their team just wasn't good enough. And his numbers are right there in line with the Stafford. I think Stafford has better numbers, but look at Stafford's pieces around him. They've been healthy most of the year. Puka's been dinged up a little bit, but he has insane offensive like firepower everywhere. Baker's been carrying this team literally on his back, running for first downs on fourth down conversions over and over again. I don't know. I'm probably wrong, but I still slightly lean him for my top. But I agree with Stafford. He's in there. I think Drake May should be in that conversation because of the expectations and the talent around you aspect. I mean, like you said, they were the dark horse, but I don't think anyone thought, hey, they're going to be 2 game lead in the division week 10 over the Bills. No one would have said that. If someone said that, you probably would have tested them for, something going on in their system.
I was
Yeah.
just maybe isn't aren't they technically like 3 games ahead in the division because of the tiebreakers? Because I
That's
think the Bills
possible.
are I think they're 2-2 in the division right now. Am I right, Dallin?
Yeah, I think you're right. So the Bills would have to catch their record and then also win
Head to
the
head.
head-to-head matchup. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's the main reason why I'd have Drake May in that conversation. His numbers aren't on the same level as a Stafford, as a Baker, but just that, like you said, the narrative of him bringing this team to 8-2, leading this division over the Bills, and he's made some really killer plays. He's still young, he's still developing, which is also kind of scary. But he's in that conversation. I had Jonathan Taylor in that conversation early, but just running backs just can't win the award, which is just disappointing. They just can't. So I just
Yeah.
by default, I'm taking him out, even though he's been insanely good this year. 3 touchdowns yesterday morning, which was crazy. The game sealer in overtime. I'm putting Sam Darnold now in that conversation after that
Wow.
game last night
Mm,
because I mean I'm not a Sam Darnold believer. I believe still if it comes to a big moment, he's gonna fold like a cheap tent like he did against the Lions last year. I don't put the Rams loss on him. The Rams loss for the Vikings was O-line couldn't do anything, play calling was bad. The Lions loss, I put on Sam Darnold because we were in the red zone so many times. He overthrew receivers. He couldn't read defenses. We should have won that game, but Sam Darnold lost that game. So I'm still a believer that when it comes to big moments, when you have to make a play, Sam Darnold isn't that guy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he flipped a switch because he's insanely talented. When it comes to pure arm talent in the NFL, he's top five. And that's an argument I'll die on that hill. But when it comes to you need to make a play, you're not leading 38-7 like he was yesterday. You need to make a play to win this game. I don't think he can do it. But for right now, he is in that conversation. I'm still giving it to Baker just because of what he's had to do to carry his team to the record it is right now. But I hear Stafford, his numbers are the best. Drake May, his narrative, and then Sam Darnold looking really good right now. Those are my top four.
I think just thinking about it, part of the thing I wasn't processing in my head because I think there's just you both know I have a love-hate relationship with Lamar Jackson. I feel like sometimes he gets too much credit, but I do think the injury bug is going to make him almost unvotable this year, as I thought about it. He's missed too many games, I
And
think,
he
to.
didn't play well against Minnesota, even though they got the win. You look at his numbers,
Yeah,
they're
they did
not
not look
good.
great.
I,
No.
I understand what you're saying, but the guy has won two MVP awards. You want to talk about darling? He is definitely an NFL darling. Like
That's fair.
you put Jalen Hurts' numbers and Lamar Jackson's numbers out there. They're not that different, but the perception of both quarterbacks is different in the NFL right now. So that's why I've kind of had him in my like he's out there conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
One
I don't. The top three, I don't believe are winning it this year. Mahomes, Bills, Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Jackson. They're not winning it this year. They're
Well,
out.
I think the reason why Josh Allen's out is because there's too many bad losses.
Exactly.
You lost badly to the Falcons. You lost badly to the Dolphins.
Hmm.
That it's really hard to overcome those issues. I do think though that Josh Allen's like he's playing with both hands tied behind his back and his ankles tied
Yeah,
together.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. But to that point you just made, Lance, about the bad losses, I think that that would be my argument for Sam Darnold if I was to make an argument for Darnold. Like the Seahawks have two losses, just like the Pats, and the two losses are a 4-point loss in week one to the 49ers when they were fully healthy, and then a 3-point loss to Tampa Bay in week five, who was probably at the height of their powers. I think that was before a lot of the injury stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
they lost Evans. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the Seahawks schedule overall, there's a lot of people chattering now since yesterday about them potentially being the best team in the league right now. Like if you were to power rank the teams, it's them, it's the Rams, um, and I don't know who else you could argue to be up there because those two teams have looked awesome. And the fact that they're in the same division with the poor Cardinals is is crazy.
And I would
I mean,
say
yeah.
to that Buccaneers loss,
Mhm.
Sam Darnold show up. It was they had the ball at the end of the game, last drive for
Yeah,
a win, and he throws interception. Now the ball was tipped, so is that fully on him? No, but it still is partially because you need to throw that ball only where your receiver can catch it. So that's all I'm gonna say.
yeah, it's a good point. Yeah,
I
it's
think
a
if
good
you're
point.
looking at the NFC, I think that to me, I'd put it that as of right now, I'd put depending on how things turn out, Seahawks as one. I'd put Eagles as two. They beat the Rams and the Buccaneers. Like
Hmm.
if we play game tiebreakers, you got to honor tiebreakers. Then I'd put Rams three and I'd put Buccaneers four. That's how I would do the NFC right now.
I don't think I disagree. I think that's totally
I don't
fair.
either.
And then
Yeah,
if the
I can
Eagles
totally
win
get behind
today,
that.
I would probably flip the Seahawks and Eagles, but I give the advantage to the Seahawks because they have one more win right now going into Monday Night Football tonight.
And
Yeah,
depending on how it looks, if the Eagles dominate, which kind of think they might, then definitely they should be one.
Yeah,
Because
we
we
know how
know I'm
much
not a
you.
Jordan Love guy.
Yeah, we know how
I'm
much you
not
love
a
Jordan
Jordan
Love,
Love guy.
Andrew.
Tyler Shook looked better against the Panthers defense than Jordan Love. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
So wait, then this is one other question I want to ask because we're kind of like talking around it. But is Mahomes out for you guys? Is he not in the MVP conversation?
For
Because
right
he's out
now,
for
I don't
me.
think so.
it's a
I don't think
schedule
he's in
thing,
there.
right? It's too many losses. Like they've
Hmm.
lost too many games, I think. And I think he has quietly played pretty well this year. He's overcome some stuff because last year, you remember that that Chiefs team was the, hey, we win every close game. Our defense kind of carries us. He did not look great last year. And I think it's been a little bit of the opposite this year. I don't think their defense has been near as good. His weapons have gotten hurt, by the way. He lost Worthy for, I mean, what was it? First offensive play of the
Yeah,
season,
Kelsey.
Worthy got, yeah. So, and then he just recently got Rice back, who looks awesome. He's been awesome in fantasy for me. And
Hmm.
yeah, I just think what it would take for Mahomes would be an insane run here for the end of the year, but I just don't think he's going to win the award probably. And I think part of that too is that he's won it before. I think that voters
Mhm.
really do have a new shiny toy bias.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and to Lance's point, the record really that's that's big. He has what, four losses now, five losses, whatever it is, and
Four losses.
there are other candidates
Four.
that are 8-2. They're looking really good. Quarterback wins really matter in that award.
Yeah.
Well, the other part I was going to say too is he's only got 5 interceptions, but his 5 interceptions to me are painful. His Eagles interception
Mm.
really, really hurt them. That's the
Oh,
reason why
the
the Eagles.
Jaguars.
Yeah,
The Jags one
Hmm.
was the worst of all of them, right? That was like a rookie quarterback 99-yard
uh,
pick six. Like bad.
yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know though. He didn't get a lot of flack for the Commanders' interceptions, but he had a really bad Commanders interception. The Commanders were just awful that night, and so they were able to survive those
Yeah,
mistakes. But I
Yeah.
mean, the Jags won. Maybe it's also too when you make your mistakes, because if you make it in primetime football, it sticks out. Because like we talked about it a little bit yesterday, Dallin, but I still feel like that May interception yesterday, like
Yeah.
that was really close to costing the team. And then Mayfield just
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
get the offense down the field. But that really does shape narratives because that Eagles one, it definitely changed the game when he threw that interception. Partially his fault, partially Kelsey's fault. But I mean, Eagles going the other direction, getting the touchdown, that totally flipped the game.
Yep. No doubt. Yeah, and they don't I don't feel like the Chiefs really have a statement win this year. If they would have won that game or
mm,
maybe the Bills game, then maybe it would have pushed him a little forward in that race for me, but I don't know. I still am terrified of them. Like I don't want to see them in the playoffs. I don't think anybody wants to see them in the playoffs.
absolutely.
But as far as the regular season goes, I don't think he's probably in the race right now.
You don't think that people, I don't know, to me, I think that's who I'd want. I mean, you'd rather play the Patriots or you'd rather play the Bills or um, I could understand
I
like over the
would.
over the Broncos and the Chargers.
Yeah,
It's just
I
the
would rather
playoffs from Mahomes and Reed. They have such a track record that you
yeah.
just don't want to see them. Playoffs are a different animal, and they know how to win in the playoffs. I think
Hmm.
that's where Dallin was going for, and I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, they have the playoff switch. And that I think is my biggest fear right now with the Pats is that we haven't seen May in that situation. Like who's to say he doesn't have a Darnold moment in the playoffs this year? And then we're talking about him completely differently next year. Um, but yeah, lining up against Mahomes and Reed, no, thank you. I'll take any of the other teams in the AFC before I take them, probably at this point.
Hmm. Even the Bills as a Patriots guy.
I mean, the Bills have shown this year that they're beatable, and I think the thing about the Bills is they haven't put together a game where they look complete. And maybe you could say the same thing for the Chiefs, but the Bills have had playoff collapses too. Like, I guess here's a good question. What is the in the Mahomes Reed era, what is the worst playoff loss for the Chiefs? Like, have they ever had a game where they've shown that they are susceptible in the
Just last
postseason?
Super Bowl.
I think it's the Super Bowl,
Uh,
right? Which, like, if you're
against
in the
the
Super Bowl, it's pretty good.
no, against the Bengals. They've had their struggles against the Bengals. One game they won, but they were susceptible. One game they lost because they were susceptible. But that's the
That's
only time
true.
I'd say for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. It seems like the Bengals defense really figured them out for a couple of years there. Um, was
It's so
that was
ironic
that
that it's
that
the
was Lou
Bengals
Anarumo,
defense.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I get what you're saying. That's a fair point, though, Down. I mean, and those Bengals games were a while ago. It's been like 3 years since they've really had a tough test in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the argument for them would be, Kelsey's old. Their team is older now. Jones is old on the defensive line. Like how, are they going to be able to play deep into the playoffs? We'll
We'll see.
see,
Yeah.
but I still think we're going to see better football from them probably down the road.
Yeah, yeah, I can't argue that. They're a dangerous playoff team. You don't want to see them. They're kind of like if the Bengals made the playoffs last year, which they didn't, but the Bengals were making a run last year. No one
Yeah.
wanted to see them on their schedule.
Yeah.
Well,
That is totally true.
if you look at the Chiefs schedule, I mean, it really just depends. Like the Broncos games and the Chargers game, I think those are their toughest games. And I don't know, the Colts are tough. Jones has looked back to Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that Steve Spagnuolo is not who Jones would want to play. I feel like Spagnuolo is definitely like one of the top five defensive coordinators right now. I don't Can
Yes,
never
and
get
you
enough
just need to
love.
pressure Daniel Jones. If you pressure Daniel Jones, that's how you beat him. And now it's on tape back-to-back weeks. Steelers got to him, Falcons got to him, made him look pedestrian. That's on
Yeah.
tape. So people are going to bring that heat now.
So do you guys think that the Texans can climb their way back in like the Ravens? I don't know if the Colts continue to look like this
I don't think
as their
so.
edge. They're firmly
I
out.
don't I think it's a little different because I don't fully believe in the Texans. Texans got lucky to win that game last night.
They did.
Their defense had, I mean, that strip fumble recovery for a touchdown to win the game. Come on, how are you going to do that? So no, I don't believe in their offense. Their offense has not been good enough to carry them.
Mhm.
Their defense has been, but you can't just rely on that. Yeah, I think the Colts are too far ahead. If the Colts would have lost to the Falcons, I would have said, okay, that's possible. But I think they're too far ahead to get caught. Right now, the Ravens are like one game back.
That's true. I cannot believe that the Steelers have just massively mismanaged the season. I mean, it's been an epic mismanagement. And the Chargers didn't
Aaron
even have the right
Rodgers.
tackle. They didn't even have the right
Nope.
tackle last night. They still couldn't make them look pedestrian.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's the argument against the Chargers, right? Like you brought them up as far as games remaining on the schedule, and they're not going to be able to protect Herbert. Like he's getting killed out there. Even like they won handily last night, and I was afraid for that guy. Like he was getting hit every other play.
And he was limping after a little after that a little bit too.
Yeah, yeah, it seemed like he got rolled up on or something. They were
Hmm.
messing with his ankle. And it's the same problem that they had with him a couple years ago, right? They couldn't protect him. And I
Mhm.
think they've invested a lot in that whole line. And I really liked the Chargers heading into the year. And now with Slater and Alt out, like good luck.
Hmm. Yeah. And we haven't seen a good playoff game from Herbert yet. He's
Yeah,
been
that's
bad in the
true.
playoffs, and that's big. It's kind of like the Lamar Jackson effect. Lamar Jackson's been great in the regular season, but the playoffs he's been not as good. That's the same for Herbert. He's got a ton of talent, but he needs to show up in the playoffs.
I, I totally agree.
All right. Well, is there any other topics we're going to touch on this episode?
I'll just say that I think that the MVP situation with May is going to come down to that Bills game. I think if they
Mm,
beat the Bills again and he looks good, then it's his award to lose, as well as Stafford has been playing. But right now, if I had a vote, I would probably vote for Stafford.
Do you think that that Ravens game is also going to matter too, though? I feel like that's a tough 2 game stretch back to back.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know. I want to see more from the Ravens. Today, they really did not look good, and I'm excited to hear you guys talk about that game more. But I know they won the game, but it was questionable for a long time there. And
Minnesota lost the game. Ravens didn't win. Minnesota lost that game.
I would
I
agree.
have a lot to talk about tomorrow.
For
Yeah,
the record,
I'm
that is
excited.
Andrew's main point every time there's a Minnesota loss.
Not every
They
time.
lost the
The
game.
Chargers, that was awful. Falcons, that was awful.
I'm just
Yeah,
teasing you, Andrew.
I think the Ravens are similar to the Chiefs, but without the playoff pedigree. Like we're going to see better football
Mhm.
from them probably. I think
Mm,
betting them to win the division a couple weeks ago would have been a very smart decision. I think that that's funny enough their division to lose because they're going to win a lot of games at the second in the second half of the year, barring something catastrophic. But
yeah. And I think their schedule is pretty easy second half of the year too.
it is, yeah, it is. So
All right. Well, this was fun.
Yeah,
yeah,
thanks for
thank you
coming
guys
on,
so much for
Dallin.
having me. It was a good time.
Yeah, we'll have
Yeah.
to have
And
another
we'll have to get you
discussion.
on again sometime.
We'll have to revisit the MVP conversation once Jalen Hurts is rightfully in the number one spot for
Yeah,
expectations.
yeah. It'd be fun. No, it'd be fun to do a follow-up episode, maybe near the end of the season or something. It'd be cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us this week in the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance and our good friend Dallin here. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and we will see you next time.
we'll see everybody. Thanks,
See
Dallin.
ya.